Hi, my name's Christopher Manousos, and I'm the Artistic Director of House and Body. I'm also the Director and Dramaturge of the Playwrights Initiative, a program developed to support writers who are experimenting with the form of playwriting. Through this program, writers were given one-on-one dramaturgy sessions and a series of workshops with actors before we filmed these excerpts of their work.
My name is Lou Campbell, they, them. I'm an interdisciplinary artist based in Chibuktuk, Halifax, and I wrote The Holy Ones. This is part one of what I envision to be a trilogy, a retelling of Christian history to include its trans heroes. The Holy Ones Part 1 is a drag dreamscape that follows Joan of Arc through their journey into the afterlife. We see Joan learn their place in trans history and learn to accept themselves as they truly are. I want it to be a little about trans people's struggle, but mostly about our joy. The Holy Ones frames trans people as part of God's plan, as divine. We have always been here.
The Holy Ones by Lou Campbell. Select scenes for House and Body's Playwrights Initiative. Prologue. We are in an empty liminal space. It's golden hour, impossible to tell whether it's sunrise or sunset. The person who plays the voice of the universe enters. They are dressed in whatever clothing is stylish with the gaze and whatever year this is taking place. They look out at the audience, smile like they know everyone as old friends, and walk slowly towards everyone.
Have you ever felt a sense of wholeness as you watch the sunset over the ocean? Or hear the wind in the trees above you? Have you ever felt it looking up at the stars at night or pondering the face of the moon? This is the universe speaking to you. It's difficult to capture in language, so we use words as placeholders for something that is more often felt or experienced. One of those words is God. Many people use this word to mean many different things, but God is just a word. Remember that. Words can be tricky. They are invitations to know and be known, but they can never capture all that exists within and between us. I have come tonight to speak as the mouthpiece for this feeling of interconnectedness. I am here to be what you need me to be. God, the universe, your guide. This force, whatever you want to call it, could never be fully contained into a human form, but it can speak through us sometimes. So here I am. I want to help uncover what's been hiding in a very famous story. Show of hands, who here knows the story of Joan of Arc? It's a story that's over 600 years old. A story full of war, heroism, and eventual tragedy. The kind of story people like to tell again and again in different ways.
The space is washed with images and videos of Joan of Arc, from movies, books, television, plays. Music starts to play, and the voice of the universe begins to lip-sync and dance to a medley of Joan of Arc songs while telling Joan's story. These sections are not done chronologically, but switch wildly between different styles. Really, the only thing they have in common is their mention of Joan of Arc. The lights abruptly go to blackout. A burst of fog fills the stage, and everyone disappears. Scene 1. The space lies in darkness. Slowly, the space becomes bathed in the light of what it looks like underwater. Like when you're swimming and you look up and see the sun making shapes on the surface of the water, or when you're in a pool and you see the sunlight dance across the bottom. Slowly, the sound of a babbling brook comes in. It intensifies to become a rushing river and then the sound of the ocean. The voice of the universe's voice comes in, softly, between a whisper and talking at a regular volume. As they speak, they become illuminated and appear as a beautiful plant that periodically sheds petals. The space transforms from an underwater place to a lush forest filled with flowers and plants. A very soft light illuminates the face of someone lying on the ground beneath the voice. It's Joan of Arc. Softly covering Joan's face with petals.
They say your heart wouldn't burn. So it was thrown into the river Seine, along with your ashes, which were carried on the current. By the time you made it out to sea, you woke up here.
Sounds of gasping for breath. The spotlight lighting Joan's face brightens and illuminates all of them. They sit up abruptly, sputter, and spit out all of the petals, ripping them off of their faces as if they are disgusting insects. They are dressed in plain canvas clothing, pants, and a loose shirt. Their hair is cut short. They look around wildly, taking in the stark surroundings and the beautiful plant. They seem extremely perturbed and terrified.
Hello? Hello?
They get up and begin pacing around the space. Their pace gets faster and faster until they are frantic.
Hello?
Hello, Joan.
Where am I?
You are in a place you've seen in your dreams. A place where everyone comes to be in their own way.
Could you be more specific?
You are free to be your true self here.
Okay, so where am I?
A new world,
What do you mean?
They begin to panic.
Am I dead?
in a sense. Your earthly life has ended.
This information is like a kick to the gut. They fall into a seated position with their mind racing. They remember something.
The fire.
Yes.
Oh God.
Crumples, shudders, begins to sob and freak the fuck out.
Joan, try to stay calm. You're safe now.
I recognize your voice.
Yes, Joan, you're beginning to remember.
I thought you would keep me safe.
I don't really have as much control as some people think on Earth. I'm not really a person. I can influence, but not control. I can see the possible outcomes. I knew this would be yours. I'm sorry.
I thought you were angels. I thought you were God.
And what do you think now?
I don't know. I don't know.
They walk back and forth, grabbing their head as if it's in pain or very, very itchy or uncomfortable.
I feel strange.
Yes, it's the knowing. It comes on slowly as soon as you arrive here.
The knowing. Knowing what? Where is here?
Well, in simple terms, here is the afterlife.
So you are God.
In a sense.
Stop speaking in riddles.
Joan, I'm not trying to be confusing. It's just a lot to take in. I don't want to overwhelm you. Things will become clear, I promise. Be patient.
Patient? Patient. I was just burned at the stake. They exposed my naked body to the crowd to prove I'm just a girl.
I think you and I both know that's not true.
What do you mean it's not true?
Do you feel like a girl?
I feel dead. I feel dead is what I feel.
Okay. We can circle back to the girl thing later.
Am I alone here? Or, I mean, is it just you and me?
Well, no. Someone was meant to be here to greet you with me, but she's always late. And of course, there's the audience.
Joan freezes suddenly, becoming aware of the audience. This awareness is absolutely terrifying.
Can they see me?
Yes.
Joan looks horrified and whirls around to face their back to the audience.
Joan, don't be afraid. They're not here to cause you any harm.
When I was burned, there was a whole crowd of people. They all just stood and watched.
I know, Joan. But this isn't like that. These people won't cause you any harm. You can speak to them if you'd like.
No, I can't.
That's okay, Joan.
Who are they?
They're a group of people in Toronto in 2023.
2023.
Yes, it's difficult to explain, but time works differently in the afterlife. Right now, it's 1431, right after your death. But it's also 2023, where the audience is watching from. Even those numbers are a bit arbitrary. He used to track the passage of time on Earth. They aren't really real indicators of how old the Earth is, more how old Christianity is. They are marked by the birth and death of Jesus, who you obviously know of. What's most important to tell you now is that time is amorphous here. We can hurry it along, even move it about.
I feel different here.
Yes, being here gives you access to, let's call it a universal knowledge, the knowing, as I mentioned. It's something that you feel more than you can really put into words.
I hate it here. I want to go home to the field. Please, can I just go home?
No, I'm sorry you can't go home, but you can find a new home here.
Why am I here?
Well, everyone ends up here one way or another.
No, but why here with them?
Ah. You're here to help tell them a story.
What story?
It's a story of what's been forgotten or taken and hidden from view. Even from you, it's a story to help you discover yourself. And by doing so, you will help those watching discover new possibilities for the future in the earthly realm.
Discover myself. What more is to be discovered?
The plant begins to fade. Joan doesn't notice at first, but then the forest fades out entirely. The sound of people chatting and approaching is heard. It gets closer and closer until we see two trans men approach, dressed as monks, but each with their own flair. They have large, ornate halos surrounding their heads. They don't notice Joan until they approach quite close. They are laughing with one another, and then see Joan and are taken aback.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, are we early? You're already here. Where's Elagabalus?
Oh, she's probably late as usual.
Oh, it is so nice to meet you, Joan.
You must be tired. Oh, I remember when I first got here, it was all so overwhelming, all that knowing. Luckily, it doesn't happen all at once. The longer you're here, the more knowledge you'll get.
I've been here since 470.
I know, Smaragdus. You never let us forget it.
They excitedly approach Joan with the intent to embrace them, but Joan backs away from them. They stop immediately and seem confused. Joan bows their head and immediately drops to their knees at the saint's feet. They realize it's because of their halos. Smaragdus kneels down too to remain face to face with Joan. Marynose follows suit.
There's no need for that. This old thing? You can have one too in this place.
Yes, Joan, you're one of us.
An angel?
A saint.
Me.
Yes, it will take some time on Earth for them to come to that final conclusion. When is it they finally decide?
1920. There's a centuries-long discussion, but the decision is an arbitrary one. The people already worship you. Your story lives on.
Well, a version of your story.
Yes, the same thing happened to us.
But here in the afterlife, we don't have to be virgins. We get to be us as we are.
Joan looks a bit skeptical. They are starting to feel suspicious of the two saints. They stare at the saints, and the two saints exchange glances.
Which reminds me, we are being very rude. I'm Smaragdus.
Marynose.
I have not heard of you before.
That's all right. We look quite different from the paintings, and on Earth we're known by different names.
Saint Marina.
Saint Euphrosyne! But here we get to go by our chosen names.
Oh, it's no use. I don't even think we were popular in the 1400s.
Well, certainly not in France. Yes, sadly, we know we weren't your favorite, Joan. You loved
Saint Michael.
Saint Catherine.
Saint Margaret.
My voices. Have you seen them? Are they down here? Where are they?
I'm sorry, Joan. I haven't seen them in a while. We don't really hang out together.
They visited me every day. I was alive since the day I turned 13. Why would they leave me now? Saint Michael?
They start pacing.
Saint Catherine?
They pace back the opposite direction.
Saint Margaret?
They run back and forth and all around the space.
Where are you?
They drop down to their knees.
Look, Joan, it's not like you will never get to see them.
Yeah, they're totally around. We just don't know exactly where they are at this moment. We personally tend to just hang out with each other.
Because you're comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
I spent my life with Saint Michael, Saint Margaret, and Saint Catherine. Saint Michael came to me that first day in the field, and the three of them were my solace through the pain and misery of war. They kept me company when I was shut away from the light of the sky and the sight of the fields and flowers. When my feet were chained and I was made to breathe foul, damp darkness and kept from everything that brought me back to the love of God, they were there. I must speak with them.
Honestly, they're probably off on a mission or sitting with people who call to them.
Yeah, we don't get called on much. People don't even call us by our real names.
It's a shame we weren't the ones who were sent to you. This would have made things a lot easier in this moment.
A mass of bubbles falls from the sky and the whole space changes into a bubble bath.
I had to send people that Joan would understand as speaking for God.
Ha! So you are here.
I'm always here. It kind of comes with the territory of being all-knowing.
Bubbles, I see you're feeling fun.
I was actually going for relaxing.
Candles light up, encircling the space.
Any chance you might want to step in here and help us?
Sigh, more bubbles fall from the sky.
Okay. Joan, I sent you St. Michael, St. Catherine, and St. Margaret because they were the most well-known in your village, and you loved them best in your worshipping practice. There wasn't time for explanations, so I sent angels that you trusted, so explanations weren't necessary.
So you tricked me.
No, they weren't a trick. They really were the saints you worshipped and prayed to. Those were the voices you needed to hear from to get you to...
Get me to do what?
To allow you to be your true self on Earth.
True self?
Someone who wore men's clothes. Didn't it feel right to you?
Yes.
A large amount of bubbles blow out and go everywhere. Joan stares at them, watching them float around and allowing their gaze to follow the path of the bubbles.
Well, that's important, Joan. It's important to you, but it's also important for others like you, alive out there in the earthly realm.
Out there?
Well, maybe you can help us get them to remember our real names.
Yeah, since you're so much more famous than us.
I didn't ask to be famous. I just wanted to serve God. How did you die?
Well, I died of natural causes.
But that's rare for people like us. Even on Earth still, people like us face violence.
People like us? What do you mean?
Your stories share a common link.
Yeah, everyone on Earth loves to call us cross-dressers.
And another thing we have in common, we all love a good bowl cut.
When Smaragdus and Marinos tell you their stories, perhaps it will help you retell your own. Together, your stories have the power to alter the future of the people out there.
Okay.
Okay?
Tell me your stories.
Okay! When I became of marriageable age, my father decided he would join the monastery and I'd be wed. I remember shouting at him, "Do you wish to save your own soul and see mine destroyed?" I couldn't describe the feeling. It was as though Marinos was within me as a seed, like he already existed in my mind. Semi-conscious, undeveloped, but I knew he was there. If my father had denied me, made me live as a wife, as Marina, my soul would have shriveled. I saw no way to be outside the monastery. I knew Marinos wouldn't make it in the real world, but Marinos the monk could live. And I love God, I did. My father said to me, "What shall I do with you? You are a woman." I told him I would come with him. I cut off all my hair. I put on men's clothes. He watched me do it. He took my hand. We walked together to the monastery. He told them my voice was softer because I spent all my days in prayer. We shared the same cell until the day he died. I remember the first time I saw him when I arrived here myself.
At my trial, they asked me if I felt guilty for my sin of my disobedience against my father. I told them, since God commanded it, had I had 100 fathers and 100 mothers, had I been born a king's daughter, I should have departed. After I left for Orleans, I never saw my father again. I hope I never do.
He caused many people harm. He was in pain too. Living with hatred causes nothing but pain. He will end up here too.
In heaven?
There is no heaven. No hell. Just this place where the truths of the universe reside, where we all must come to face them.
I don't want to see him.
You don't have to.
Do you really think I want to sit here and talk about how great your lives are? About how you actually get to live them? How you had a family who loved you? How wonderful! I'm so happy for you!
We're sorry, Joan. We thought the things we had in common would outweigh the things we didn't.
Yeah, it was thoughtless of us.
To save yourself from burning at the stake, you signed a confession that said your voices were made up. In order to escape the burning, you had to start wearing women's clothes again.
I can't even read. I had no idea what that paper said. All I know is I was terrified and alone.
I don't blame you. But you didn't wear women's clothes after you signed, did you?
No.
And you took it back in the end.
Yes, the confession was a lie anyways.
We know.
Laughter and commotion is heard, and Emperor Elagabalus walks in with it. She is a regal, elegant, ornately, and immaculately dressed trans woman surrounded by a group of jubilant dancers made up of trans people of all types and gender expressions. They are all dressed wonderfully and differently.
Wow, look who finally decided to show up.
I know, I'm late, I'm awful, I'm sorry. Joan! Well, aren't you a little grumpy grump? What's wrong? You made it. We should be celebrating. Let's get you out of that horrendous canvas monstrosity of an outfit and into something fabulous.